Ferrari's 2022 season started off perfectly. Up-and-coming star of the team, Charles Leclerc, who was trusted with replacing the role of championship winners in Alonso and Vettel, was finally given the car to show exactly what he was made of. In the first few races, he battled with Max Verstappen, and in Bahrain and Australia, he came out on top. Then the title chance just seemed to slip away. Leclerc pinpointed when he finally gave up hope of the 2022 championship after seeing Max dominate the hills of Spa at the Belgian Grand Prix, saying, "I came back from the summer break where you obviously think about the first part of the season," said Leclerc. "I still believe in winning the title. Then, obviously, you arrive in Spa and you see the performance gap to Verstappen that we really didn't see in the first part of the season, and it started to become difficult." But it wasn't the performance gap that had cost him a chance at a title. Instead, in his words, if you look at the whole season, we've been very competitive. The problem is that we didn't do the perfect execution on every Grand Prix. These imperfect executions can be broken up into three categories: reliability issues, driver errors, and strange strategy choices. So let's look at where these three problems came from and see if we can fix them moving into the 2023 season.
No, engine, no.
The Ferrari engine proved to be very strong this season. Leclerc dominated qualifying, picking up more pole positions than anybody else on the 2022 grid. And Gunther Steiner has hinted that next year's Ferrari engine is even better. When interviewed, the Haas boss said, "On Thursday, I met with Matteo Binotto, and he told me that next season's engine will be the bomb." The bomb probably not being the best turn of phrase, as the impressive power unit proved pretty explosive during multiple Grand Prix. Spain was the first time things went wrong for the Italian team when Leclerc had to stop from first place. There appeared to be a malfunction in his turbocharger and MGUH, but there was hope that this would be a one-off, and it was damaging as the 25-point loss was there, but that could definitely be made up. Unfortunately, though, a couple of races later in Baku, and the problems were doubled, as not one but both Ferrari cars came to a halt. Sainz with a hydraulic issue, and Leclerc later going up in smoke. As they say, there's no smoke without fire, and Austria would be where the fire truly came, as Carlos Sainz and his Ferrari had the final but most dramatic reliability issue of the year when his prancing horse was engulfed in flames on lap 58 of the race. After all those reliability problems, Ferrari opted to reduce their engine's power output, preventing the team from really benefiting from their superior power unit. It wasn't just having to turn down the engine that would cost the team, however, it was also the number of replacement parts they had to use over the course of the season, which have restricted numbers in modern day Formula 1, and therefore led to numerous grid penalties for the team. In the first half of the season, this wasn't too bad, both drivers taking a penalty once each, Leclerc in Canada and Sainz in France, but after the summer break, it was crazy how often the Ferraris were dropping backwards after qualifying before the race had even started. Leclerc took penalties in Belgium and in Austin for several parts changes, whilst Carlos Sainz took penalties in Italy of all places and in Brazil. With all these penalties, Ferrari didn't make it very easy for their drivers to finish on the podium, let alone win Grand Prix. So it's clear that the first piece of the puzzle to find if Ferrari have hopes of a championship in 2023 is to deliver a car that is still as fast but allows the drivers to actually start where they qualify and finish the Grand Prix. Although not all of Ferrari's DNFs this season have been down to reliability, while Ferrari have put together an incredible driver pairing of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, with both drivers capable of winning races and fighting right at the top end of that grid, I think it's fair to say that neither of them had a perfect 2022. Let's start on the Spanish side of the Ferrari team. Carlos Sainz dropped out of a total of 6 races in 2022, only 2 of which were due to the poor reliability of that aforementioned Ferrari engine. In Imola, he fell victim to an incident with Daniel Ricciardo, which was not his fault, whilst at the US Grand Prix, it was George Russell who would take out Sainz on the opening lap of the race. Again, something that the Ferrari driver could do nothing about. However, that leaves 2 more races to be accounted for, and I'm afraid Sainz has to take the brunt of the criticism for these 2. Australia and Japan saw the Spaniard end his own race. Whether it was adapting to the new car at the start of the year or the horrendous downpour in Suzuka, he definitely cost himself a considerable amount of points. Though neither of those crashes were as impactful in 2022 as Charles Leclerc's mistakes. First off, Imola, in which the Monash driver would go for a ride over the curbs and into a wall. He did manage to finish the Grand Prix after that mistake, but he only finished 6th in a race where a podium was almost a certainty. That, though, paled into insignificance when he came to a spinning stop in France, forfeiting a leading position, handing title rival Verstappen a simple win, and ultimately starting the Red Bull winning streak that would hand Max Verstappen the title. Then there's Japan, where on the final corner of the final lap, Charles Leclerc would make a mistake while under pressure from Sergio Perez and actually hand Max Verstappen the title. It's clear to see that if Leclerc and Sainz are lucky enough to have this faultless Ferrari car underneath them, then the duo will will also need to make fewer mistakes themselves if the team in red are going to get back to winning ways in this era of Formula One.
Wait, what are these tyres?
Sorry, it's a mistake.
If those two components can be fixed in 2023, the team will at least finish more races. But even when they have been finishing races, they haven't made it easy for themselves, with Ferrari choosing the wrong tyres numerous times, or the team often calling the drivers into the pit lane way too late. Monaco was the first time that we saw Ferrari panic. Chaos ensued in the Ferrari garage as just a few laps after his first pit stop, Leclerc was called in again, only for his engineer to shout over the onboard radio to stay out a fraction of a second too late, forcing Leclerc to wait for his teammate, who had also come into the pit lane at that time, resulting in Leclerc finishing 4th and Ferrari starting to show that indecisive decision-making that would rear its head at multiple points as the rest of the season unravelled. Silverstone would see Leclerc again fall victim to Ferrari's late choices as they panicked and left him out as others stopped. The Ferrari driver was then overtaken left and right, costing him another podium and a possible win. Hungary would see Ferrari put the drivers onto the hardest compound of tyre, only for there to be absolutely no grip on the hard tyres whatsoever, so Leclerc had to come in again for a third pit stop. Zandvoort saw Sainz drive into the pit lane while the team only had 3 tyres ready. The Spaniard had to wait more than 12 seconds for his tyres. Or Brazil, when Leclerc was the only driver to be put onto the intermediates in Q3, meaning that he would start from P10 on the Saturday sprint. The list just seems to go on and on and on, which is why Leclerc and Sainz on the radio often felt like they couldn't trust the team's decisions and would question and dictate strategy from inside the car, something that they can't be expected to do if Ferrari are truly to battle at the top throughout an entire season. Clearly change is needed within the Scuderia setup if it wants to fight for a title in 2023. Binotto's departure seems to be the first step in making that change, if a strange choice to make, but much more will need to change if the Italians are to compete against Red Bull's relentless winning or Mercedes' unerring reliability. The strategic team will also have to do things differently in the new season. The mistakes have to be eradicated by the team, and the drivers have to have full faith in not only the car, but the team around them. If Leclerc and Sainz feel the confidence of a faultless Ferrari, can harness the power of that prancing horse beneath them, then perhaps the drivers will make fewer mistakes themselves and be able to take Ferrari back up to championship winning ways. Let me know what you think. Can Ferrari win either of the Formula One World Championships in 2023? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Whilst you're down there, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you next time.